In a world where stories fade into dust, there is a place where they are kept alive. Here, in these endless halls, voices from centuries past whisper once more, and forgotten worlds open their doors to you. Welcome to Audible Archives, where every word endures and every tale finds its voice.
In Ashford, gold is never just gold, it's power, it's leverage, and it's worth killing for. Tonight, Drake Vane steps into a game where every move is a trap and every shadow hides a player. You're listening to Audible Archives. Subscribe now and follow the trail into The Quiet Spark.
The city of Ashford lay shrouded in early morning fog, its industrial heart muted beneath a thick veil of gray. Drake Vane stood by the window of his modest flat, the faint clang of a distant tram punctuating the silence. In his hand, a steaming cup of tea cooled slowly, the ritual steadied the restless thoughts circling in his mind. The letter that had arrived the night before was straightforward, yet its implication was anything but. An anonymous note, hinting at a theft, gold ingots gone missing from a secure vault deep within Ashford's financial district. No demands, no threats. Just a puzzle begging to be unraveled. Drake's steel-gray eyes narrowed, tracing the familiar contours of the city he'd returned to years ago. The weight of the case settled on his shoulders. This was no ordinary crime. The glint of gold carried secrets, promises, and dangers. As he prepared to leave, his thoughts flickered to the man who'd sent the note, a trusted source with a reputation for whispered truths and shadowed deals. If the gold was truly missing, it wasn't just a heist, it was a message. Outside, the fog shifted, and so did the currents of Ashford's underworld. Somewhere, the ingots awaited discovery, and the story was just beginning. Drake's footsteps echoed faintly through the marble lobby of Ashford Trust Bank. The grand vault door stood before him, a monolith of steel and secrets. He glanced at the bank manager, a nervous man named Fletcher, whose thin mustache twitched with unease. "Detective Vane," Fletcher said, voice low. "The ingots were last accounted for 3 nights ago. No sign of forced entry. No alarms triggered. It's unprecedented." Drake studied the door's intricate locking mechanism, noting the subtle scuff marks near the control panel. "Who has access?" "Only a select few," Fletcher replied. "Myself, the head of security, and a small team trusted implicitly." Drake's eyes caught a flicker of hesitation in Fletcher's expression. "And you trust them?" Fletcher swallowed. "I want to." Drake nodded, pulling out his notebook. "I'll need a list of everyone with access. And any recent visitors or unusual activity." Fletcher handed over the documents, his hands trembling slightly. As Drake scanned the names, a pattern emerged, several names linked to powerful city figures, some with shadowy reputations. The theft wasn't just about gold, it was about power, leverage. Outside, the fog pressed close against the building's windows, hiding the city's restless pulse. Drake knew this case would dredge up old ghosts, secrets worth more than gold. And Ashford's quiet was about to shatter. The smoky haze of the rusty anchor settled over the late afternoon like a shroud. Drake Vane sat in a shadowed corner booth, the low murmur of dockworkers and machinists drifting around him. His eyes, sharp and steady, scanned the room, always watching, always measuring. Across the table, Marla Wynne, a former dockhand turned informant, leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "That list you showed me? Half of those names don't mix with honest work. If the gold's missing, it's not just thieves, it's a game of politics and greed." Drake nodded. "Any names stick out?" Caraway's on there. The alderman. His interests run deep, and his enemies run deeper. Caraway, Drake repeated, lips tightening. He's a snake. But someone had to move the ingots. Marla tapped her fingers on the table. And that's where it gets tricky. I heard talk of a shipment scheduled to leave the docks tonight. Rumor is, it's tied to the missing gold. Drake's gaze hardened. Then that's where I'm headed. Later, beneath the rusted cranes and roaring freight of Ashford's docks, Drake watched shadows move like whispers. The shipment was arriving, but so were others, with darker intentions. As the fog rolled in, the game of gold, power, and deception tightened its grip. The fog thickened as Drake crouched behind a stack of crates, eyes fixed on the dimly lit dock where the shipment was due to arrive. The scent of salt and oil mixed with the metallic tang of tension in the air. Figures emerged from the shadows, men in dark coats moving with purpose. Drake's hand hovered near his revolver, senses sharpened by years of discipline. As crates were unloaded, he spotted a glint, gold. The ingots. But the smugglers weren't alone. A rival group appeared, stepping from the fog, weapons drawn, voices low but threatening. Drake's heart raced as a sudden gunshot shattered the silence. Chaos erupted. Men shouted, shots rang out, and Drake sprang into action, firing a warning shot to scatter the combatants. In the melee, a man slipped, clutching a briefcase emblazoned with a peculiar crest, the same as on the anonymous note. Drake moved fast, tackling the man before he could escape. "Who sent you?" Drake demanded, voice cold. The man smirked. "You're in deeper than you know, detective." Before Drake could react, a sharp crack echoed, the man vanished into the mist, leaving only a faint scent of coal smoke. Drake's grip tightened on the briefcase. Ashford's secrets were wrapped tighter than ever. And the gold was only the beginning. Back in his flat, Drake carefully unwrapped the briefcase, the worn leather cold under his fingertips. Inside lay a collection of papers, documents, maps, and a small, folded note. His eyes scanned the maps first, intricate layouts of Ashford's docks, warehouse locations, and what appeared to be escape routes beneath the city. The note, written in a sharp, precise hand, read, "Trust no one. The gold is only the bait." Drake's jaw tightened. Whoever had sent the note was warning him, or perhaps taunting him. Marla's voice came through the crackling phone line, low and urgent. "I've been digging. That crest on the briefcase? It belongs to a secret society, the Order of the Furnace. They've got their claws deep in Ashford's power structure." Drake rubbed his temple. "Then this isn't just about missing gold. It's about control." "Exactly," Marla said. "And they won't stop until they own the city." A knock on the door startled him. Helen Caraway stepped inside, her gaze steely. "I hear you've got the briefcase," she said. "And you're poking a hornet's nest." Drake met her eyes. "Then maybe it's time we burn down the hive." The underground cellar beneath the crooked lantern was heavy with the scent of damp stone and whispered secrets. Drake, Helen, and Marla gathered around a battered wooden table, the briefcase's contents spread before them under the dim glow of a single lantern. Helen traced a symbol on one of the documents, a stylized flame entwined with a cogwheel. "That's the Furnace Order's emblem," she explained. "An old coalition of industrial magnates, politicians, and other players who've shaped Ashford's history from the shadows." Marla shook her head. They operate like a ghost, invisible but everywhere. Their influence touches the docks, the council, even the police. Drake leaned forward, fingers steepled. If the gold was bait, then what's the trap? Helen's gaze was steady. Power. They're setting the stage to control Ashford's future, its industry, its politics, its very soul. A sudden crash upstairs jolted them. Drake was on his feet in an instant, revolver drawn. "Stay here," he ordered. As he ascended the creaking stairs, shadows flickered in the lantern light. A figure slipped into the night. Drake cursed under his breath. The hunt was no longer just for gold, it was for survival. The night air was thick with the scent of coal and burning tar as Drake Vane moved through the narrow back streets of Ashford's industrial quarter. The glow of furnace fires painted the sky a hellish orange, and the distant clang of machinery echoed like a heartbeat. Clad in his dark wool overcoat and ash-colored scarf, Drake approached an unmarked warehouse, a place whispered about in hushed tones among dockhands and machinists alike. Inside, the atmosphere was stifling. Men in tailored suits spoke in low voices around long oak tables, their faces obscured by cigarette smoke and shadows. Drake slipped silently through the room, eyes sharp. He caught snippets of conversation, plans for shipments, names of influential city officials, cryptic references to the vault and the next phase. A voice beside him whispered, "You're brave, or foolish." He turned to see Marla, her eyes flashing with both warning and resolve. "We don't have much time," she said. "The Order's patience is thin." Drake nodded, sliding a small recording device into his pocket. Tonight, the city's darkest secrets would be laid bare, or he'd become just another ghost in the smoke. Drake barely made it back to the safety of his flat before the knock came, sharp, insistent. His revolver was in hand before he opened the door. Standing there was Fletcher, the bank manager, eyes wide and pale. "Detective Vane, we need to talk." "Now." Inside, Fletcher's voice trembled as he revealed a secret meeting, one that involved more than just gold, plans to eliminate anyone who got too close to the truth. Drake's steel-gray eyes narrowed. "And you're involved?" Fletcher shook his head quickly. "No, but I'm scared. The Order's reach, it's beyond anything you've seen." Before Drake could respond, his phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number: "Trust no one. Not even her." The room seemed to close in. Helen's name was unspoken but heavy in the air. Drake's instincts screamed, someone close was playing a deadly game. With every step closer to the truth, the shadows grew darker. The rain beat steadily against the window panes of Drake's flat, blurring the city lights into halos of orange and white. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Drake methodically laid out his plan, each move measured, each risk calculated. Helen sat across from him, calm but watchful. "You think someone close is betraying you?" Drake nodded, his gaze unwavering. "The message said to trust no one. That includes allies. But I need to know who." They agreed to stage a meeting with Fletcher, using it as bait to flush out the traitor. Helen would play the part of the insider, feeding false information to the Order. The night arrived, thick with fog and anticipation. In the shadowed alley behind the bank, Drake waited, revolver hidden but ready. From the mist emerged a figure, silent, deliberate. "Looking for me?" Drake's voice cut through the silence. The figure froze. It was Marla. Her eyes betrayed no fear, only resolve. "I had to," Drake. To protect you, in Ashford. Before more could be said, footsteps thundered close, enforcers of the furnace order, closing in. The trap was set. The game was on. The narrow alley echoed with harsh voices and the scrape of heavy boots. Drake's revolver was steady in his grip, breath even, eyes sharp as steel. "Drop your weapons," barked the lead enforcer, a burly man with a scar tracing his jawline. Drake's gaze flicked to Marla, who stood defiant beside him. "We don't want trouble," Drake said coolly. "Just answers." The scarred man sneered. "Answers come with a price." Gunfire cracked through the damp night air. Drake dove behind a rusted crate, returning fire with precise shots that echoed like thunder. Marla moved with quick, fluid grace, disarming one attacker before ducking behind cover. Amid the chaos, Helen appeared at the alley's mouth, wielding a small pistol, backing them up. "We hold them here," she urged. "But we need to get to the vault. The truth is waiting." With a nod, Drake signaled a break and the trio slipped through the shadows toward the secret vault, the heart of the furnace order's power. Every step was a step closer to unmasking the city's darkest secrets, and to danger beyond imagining. The heavy steel door groaned open, revealing a dimly lit chamber lined with crates stamped in cryptic symbols. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of something metallic, old gold, but not just any gold. This was the currency of secrets and power. Drake's eyes scanned the room, landing on ledgers, documents, and hidden compartments filled with ingots, far more than the missing shipment. Helen moved toward a battered desk, pulling out a journal bound in cracked leather. This is their ledger. Every bribe, every shadow deal documented. Marla flipped through the pages, her voice tight. They've been controlling Ashford's industry and politics for decades. The missing gold? Just a fraction of their wealth. Drake's jaw clenched. And the vault is the heart of their grip on the city. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind them. The door slammed shut. From the shadows stepped Richard Carraway, smirking. "Welcome to the true power behind Ashford," he said. "You've played right into my hands." Drake's revolver was ready. The final game was about to begin. The dim light flickered as Drake faced Richard Carraway, the man who had pulled Ashford's strings from the shadows for years. Around them, the vault's treasure gleamed, symbols of greed and corruption. Carraway smiled coldly. "You think you can dismantle what took decades to build? This city belongs to the furnace order." Drake's voice was calm but unwavering. "Not anymore." With a swift movement, Carraway reached for a hidden pistol, but Drake was faster. The crack of a gunshot echoed. Carraway staggered, clutching his shoulder. Helen and Marla moved to secure the vault's contents, contacting authorities and exposing the order's network. Outside, Ashford's first light broke through the fog, a symbol of new beginnings. Drake looked out over the city from his flat later that morning, the weight of the case lifting but the scars remaining. Ashford had been pulled from the edge of darkness, but Drake knew the city's heartbeat would always carry shadows. And he would be there, watching, waiting, ready.
The vault is open, but the cost of truth is never paid in gold alone. Ashford breathes easier tonight, but its shadows are far from gone. Like, comment and subscribe to Audible Archives. The next case is already waiting in the dark.
Another chapter closes, but the archives remain, waiting for the next seeker of stories. Here, no voice is lost, no tale truly ends. This is Audible Archives. Until we meet again, may your mind wander freely and your heart never forget the stories we share.